The Targaryen dragons were gone, their massive skulls left to gather dust in the lightless depths of the Red Keep. Without fire-breathing weapons to enforce absolute obedience, the Iron Throne was suddenly forced to rely on a much more fragile concept, the perception of legal authority. But Westeros is a continent where lords measure a man's worth by the strength of his sword arm. A king's decree written on a scroll rarely commanded the same respect as a battle-tested commander leading from the front lines. This cultural reverence for the blade centered on Blackfyre, the ancestral Valyrian steel sword wielded by Aegon the Conqueror himself. To the lords of the realm, whoever held this blade possessed the ultimate symbol of true kingly power. As King Aegon the Unworthy lay dying, he made a decision that shattered the stability of his house. Instead of passing the Conqueror's blade to his legitimate, scholarly heir, Daemon, he gifted the sword to his illegitimate son, Daemon. Daemon was a towering warrior who possessed the silver-gold hair and deep purple eyes of old Valyria. Physically, he was the warrior reborn, looking and fighting exactly like the conqueror the Westerosi lords expected a king to be. By placing the crown on the head of a scholar and the conqueror's sword in the hands of a warrior god, Aegon split the identity of the monarchy. He created an ideological tension that left the kingdom vulnerable to the first spark of rebellion. King Daemon II was everything a peaceful kingdom usually wants in a ruler. He was thoughtful, deeply scholarly, and preferred the negotiating table over the battlefield. His crowning achievement was a diplomatic masterstroke. Through his marriage to Maria Martell, Daemon finally brought the historically hostile territory of Dorne into the Seven Kingdoms, achieving through a vow what a century of warfare could not. Almost immediately, the culture inside the Red Keep shifted. Dark-haired Dornishmen walked the halls, bringing bright silks and foreign customs, and a new wave of advisors sitting at the king's table. This map shows cultural integration spreading from Dorne into the Crown Lands. To the martial lords of the Reach and Stormlands, this influx insulted their ancestors. Feeling disenfranchised by progressive diplomacy, these military houses sought an alternative leader, championing the old, warrior-centric ways. Daemon had unified the realm through peaceful integration, but in doing so, he alienated the very lords whose swords he relied upon to defend his throne. Despite this simmering resentment, the rebellion was not a sudden explosion. Daemon actually tolerated Daeron's rule for over a decade, maintaining a fragile peace between the two branches of the family. The peace was finally broken by Aegor Rivers. Known as Bitterstingle, Daemon's fierce and embittered half-brother was a warrior who harbored a deep-seated hatred for the king's scholarly administration. Bittersteel spent years relentlessly whispering into Daemon's ear. He preyed upon Daemon's pride and carefully weaponized the lord's existing xenophobia against the new Dornish influence at court. To strip the king of his right to rule, Bittersteel spread a treasonous rumor that Daemon was falseborn, the product of an illicit affair between the queen and Aemon the Dragon Knight, rather than the true king's son. Under this constant psychological pressure, Daemon finally succumbed. He began to believe the whispers, seeing himself as the rightful savior that a weakened and false kingdom desperately needed. Systemic political tension provides the fuel for a war, but it requires the personal, venomous hatred of an ambitious man in the shadows to finally strike the match. The formal fracture of the realm was absolute. Daemon declared himself the true king and raised a new banner, a jet-black dragon breathing fire upon a blood-red field. While most wars are fought over borders, these armies were divided by ideology. This split pitted friends against friends and fathers against sons, as they chose between Daeron's diplomacy and Daemon's martial tradition. This clash of visions culminated at the Red Grass Field. Tens of thousands of men converged in a massive battle that would serve as the ultimate test of Daemon's martial supremacy. While Daemon fought with chivalry on the front lines, the king's spymaster, Lord Bloodraven, watched the chaos from the high vantage of the Weeping Ridge. Bloodraven did not care for the honor of the battlefield. As the warrior king pauses in the heat of the fight, Bloodraven prepares to strike a fatal blow from the shadows that will end the rebellion in a single moment. The Blackfyre rebellion left the kingdom in ashes, without a single dragon's flame. In their place were the consequences of a father who divided his legacy, brothers who nursed old grudges, and a sword that had become more powerful than the laws of the land.